Okay, so I finally got time to put together this video for you. We've been wicked busy here. So I threw this together, and what you're gonna see is us breaking tow in Buzzard's Bay, getting in push gear and pushing through the Cape Cod Canal. Hopefully you guys will like it. Thank you so much for liking and subscribing, and keep your comments coming. I love the comments. Thank you so much. A special big shout out to all my Patreons, or my patrons. It's a Patreon account. Patrons. Thank you so much, you guys. You guys rock. Okay, so a lot of people liked in one of my other videos when I showed what we were doing on the charts. So I figured I'd break out some charts and show you what was going to happen on a trip that we took up to Quincy, Massachusetts. This part of the trip is going through we're breaking tow and getting on the wire in Buzzard's Bay. Getting in push gear in Buzzard's Bay and proceeding through the Cape Cod Canal. Anyway, so here's a couple charts. What we do is we fold them like this so that we can stack up many charts and keep them all in order this way. These are chart correction things, so that when every time we do a correction that comes out, we have the date and the notice to mariners date, and who did it, and all that sort of stuff is on here. So here's a chart of Buzzard's Bay. Let me open it up and show you what we're looking at. I'm not sure how well this is all going to work on the camera, but anyway, we come through here, and you can see this green line right here is what they call a recommended route for commercial traffic. We're not required to go here by law, but it's what they put there for us so that we know that if we stay in this area, hopefully people with fishing gear and hopefully people that are recreational boaters or whatever will know that this is where we transit the most. So we come up through here, and we were towing on the wire the whole way. Something that's interesting about Buzzard's Bay is, for quite a while now, after a horrific oil spill, Buzzard's Bay has put a whole bunch of restrictions in that really help out. Well, I guess they're designed to make sure there's not a problem. One of the things that we have to do is we have to have a tailboat, another high horsepower tailboat follow us. In the event that we have any problem or anything goes wrong, the other boat can get in there and make sure that we don't go around, that sort of things. But anyway, we come up here, and where our video starts is right off here. This is what they call the BB buoy. Some people that are familiar with the area might know where New Bedford is. New Bedford's in here, but we come up here, and we could do this right here. In this particular video, it was flat comm, and we came off the wire right here and got in push gear, and then we'll continue up here. Start over. So I don't know how much of this you can see, but we'll come up through here, come by the Cleveland Ledge Lighthouse, come up to Hog Island 1 and 2, and we'll start. And what we call the land cut in here is about 11 miles from here all the way to the east end of the canal. Let me get I think I'll have a better shot of this for you on the next chart. So the next one is just a zoomed in version. Let's see how you can see this. Yeah, so as we come in through here, we'll come in here. The sun was going down in the afternoon, so I figured it would illuminate the eastern side. So I set my camera up to favor the eastern side. The only problem is there's a lot, in my opinion, I don't know, if you live on the eastern side you might argue with me, but I think there's a lot more to see on the western side, and I probably did the wrong thing. But anyway, we come up through here. As we come through here, we'll come by the college. We call the college, it's Mass Maritime Academy, and then we'll come through, and this is where actual Buzzard's Bay Control and 2-1 Canal Control, the people that control all these waters, are located. We come through a railroad bridge here, then we come through the Bourne Bridge, we come through here, come through the Sagamore Bridge, then this right over here pops out on this part of the chart here, and we come through here, and you'll see this little cutout here, which is Sandwich Marina. There'll be Sandwich Powerhouse over here, and there's a little marina, obviously not for boats our size, but maybe a lot of you are familiar with it. And then we pop out on the east end and we'll remake over here. So here we are, we've got the barge shortened up. Shortened up means that we've hauled in some wire, and so it's not falling, it's not as far back as it was when we're towing in deeper, rougher water. And as you can see in the distance there, that's our tailboat just following us, just making sure everything's okay. What I'm trying to do here is slowly get way off the barge. Obviously, if I stop, the barge doesn't stop, it keeps going. Now, one thing that you'll start seeing is that you'll see that if I do clutch ahead on two, in other words, minimal power with each engine, will continue to be going too fast. But if I just use one engine, it will reduce the speed by half. But the problem is that we'll start moving off to one way because it's going to push on one side of the boat. So what you'll see is you'll see the quick water from one engine, and then the other engine, and then the other engine. It goes back and forth. And I do that just so I'm reducing the speed and still staying in front of the barge. We're winding up the wire all the time here. The other thing too is that as we haul in the wire, that effectively is making the barge think that there's that we're towing on it. So I have to, if I just stop the winch and the boat remains the same speed, the barge is going to be going faster because it was going at the speed of the boat plus the winch. So I have to kind of do both of these things. But anyway, you'll see there now I'm using the starboard engine. Then I go all stop. Okay, you can see me using the port engine. All the time we're bringing in more and more wire. Buzzard's Bay is usually very it's very, let me just say, it's very rare that it's this beautiful and this calm in Buzzard's Bay. It's a perfect day to videotape this. Anyway, so I'm starting to make my move now. As you can see, I'm starting to roll around, and there's a couple things happening. One is that I want to keep the wire off the bottom. We're in shallower water now, so I have to keep a little bit of strain on the wire. I start moving around, the wire pops out of the donut. But I still want way on the barge so that the barge will go by us, but not so much that it will tow us too fast backwards. As we're coming around here, I'm picking up just the end of the wire here, picking up a little bit more and a little bit more. Want to get too far away from the barge because I'm going to be ultimately alongside it, but I don't want to get so close that I get run over as the barge comes over either. So right now you can see the socket. The socket is the end of the wire there that's just coming over. It's connected to the bridle of the barge. And now what you can't see is that I'll be starting to back, and I start backing up because I need the tug to start matching the speed of the barge. And the barge is only going about a knot or two or whatever, but it doesn't seem like it's a lot. It's a lot with a lot of big forces. So we don't like anything to go bang or anything like that. So we're just taking our time, backing up, shortening the distance. Now the pennant on the barge has a retrieval line on it, and the tankerman is working the windlass, the capstan, to bring that retrieval line up, just so that it won't get caught in my wheel. Not the wire line, but the pennant retrieval line. Sometimes if they don't pull that up, it'll be a lot of floating line. We don't want to get that in the wheel. Now I'm alongside. I go over, see that's me down the bottom, and what I'm doing I do something that not everyone does and isn't really required, but I see it as an extra safety measure. We put up something called a handy line, and this is a line on the quarter bit up forward on the port side that just kind of holds us in place. And the reason why we do that is that if we don't have that, if the boat gets out of shape, to keep it in shape, I have to use my engines, and in doing that, it increases the odds of the wire jumping back and forth. And remember, from this position, the wire doesn't look that heavy, but like I was saying in another video, there's probably a ton or two of more force on that wire. So we want to reduce that. So the task at hand here is to separate our socket from their bridle. And the way we do that, you can't just like let it go, because there's too much forces involved. So what we do is we have something called a let go line, which is a soft line. There's my AB, he's getting the let go line now, and he's passing it through the bridle and giving it to the engineer. The engineer is getting it on the other side, and they're pulling this line through. And what this effectively does is we're going to put the strain of the pennant on the let go line, will release the strain on our wire, and then they'll undo the bolt, the nut on the shackle of our line, and then when everyone's ready, we can let the soft line go, and you'll see it pay out over the end of the stern of the boat. Some of the people I work with are a little bit more hesitant to be on camera, so I'm trying to block them out. Now we're making sure everything's alright, going through a few safety checks. When this goes, there I am now, I'm releasing the tension on our wire. The AB goes over, and if you notice, he never steps over the wire, he never does anything bad. He takes the nut off the end. And there goes the wire, and the little soft line pays right out. And now we are off the wire. The engineer goes over and retrieves the pickup line. Then we'll go and release our handy line that was holding us in place. While that's happening, the deck crew is switching the gear from towing to pushing. They connect on to the push gear. Now we're making our way to the stern of the barge to get into the notch. Sometimes you don't get a perspective from just shooting out of the upper house how big the barges are. Remember, this isn't even a big one. But as you can see, right now we're coming about midway on the barge. The house you see right there is the machinery house. It holds the generators and the pumps. There's another tankerman coming to get ready to receive us. The other house on the port side there is their living quarters. This barge is special in that it has a very good notch, a very deep notch. Many bunker barges have notches that are at least a third of this size, and they're good for in the harbor. The deeper the notch are, the more weather you can stand before you have to switch to go to the wire. Now I pick up the camera, put it in over here to get a look forward. To see back aft anymore. My mate is running the boat. It's on his watch right now, so I get to film this. So now my mate's job is to get in the notch and get the push gears up, the push gear up on either side without pushing too hard on the barge, because we don't really want way to start on the barge because it's kind of pointed in the right direction. So he comes up, takes his time. In the notch very well. The white stuff you see in the in the notch there. That's the foam from the bubbles that come up and get caught kind of in a little whirlpool in there. I think pretty soon I'm going to readjust the camera so you get a better shot. I put this stuff in the video because I had a lot of comments asking. People were asking how the procedures work, so I'm hoping. It's hard in reading all of your comments. It's hard to be all things to all people. So some people like the music, some people don't like music, some people like commentary, some people don't like commentary, some people like sped up videos, and some people don't like it. So hope you guys can bear with me. I'm trying to make everyone happy with some message. Anyway, you can see we've put a headline up, and the headline holds us in place so that, I think in another video I told you how that's there in case we have a problem if one of the push legs break. It keeps us from popping out of the notch. Now they're putting up the port, we call it the port wire. It's, like I say, that's from the old times when we had wires. Now we have these Spectra synthetic lines that are stronger than the wire. And as I mentioned in another video, they're susceptible to chafe. So you can see this black stuff. This black stuff is it's almost like a fire hose, but super strong Kevlar stuff that minimizes the chafe. So he gets that all lined up, so whenever there's a chafe point, that will be good. So I think right now they're trying to figure out if they've got it right or not. And it looks like they have to switch it over. They don't want the lines to cross. Obviously, if they cross, that would be another chafe point as well. He brings that around, and you can see he's going to pull the other side down to reduce, so that when the wires come tight, the push line won't be right on the corner. It'll have some chafe gear there. Now they're going to put up the starboard side. Being a loaded barge, you can just hand it up, but when the barge is light, it's quite a bit higher, so they throw that tagline up. Now my mate comes up and he goes back to the doghouse where he'll operate the winch. You can see the AB is checking for safety to make sure that the shivs are clean, that everything's right, everything's lined up. He gives a thumbs up and they start pulling in the wire. And this will tighten us up. And now we're underway. Well, here's your time lapse, so I can hear the comments coming already. Some people love them, but it takes a few hours to get through where we're going. But now we're headed up, and we're headed for the canal. Underway, you can see, like I was saying earlier, that I'm trying to favor the eastern side, or the starboard side, the right side of the screen here, because I figured the sun was going to be there by the time we got up there. You can see the tide was working on the aids to navigation there. We're doing this because it's a loaded barge with a fair tide. The tide runs so good here that if we were trying to do this with opposing tide, we'd never get through the canal. And so we're making good speed through here. Obviously this is sped up, but we're probably doing 8 to 10 knots going through here. Our sis boat is following us. Ever, like I say, if we have a engine failure, steering failure, or operator failure, the assist tug can get right in there, or the tailboat can get right in there and save the day. Fortunately for us, that wasn't a problem on this trip, but now we're getting closer to the land cut. Many sailors that watch my channel should be familiar with this area. Very popular with sailboats. Now we're coming in, just came through, you're going to see the college there on the left hand side. Some tugs tied up there, Mass Maritime. And then the office for 21 Canal Control. And here is the railroad bridge. And we get under that, and now you can see how the land cut kind of works. Now, I don't know that this is true, but I've heard, and some of you guys are really good. It's one of the beneficial things about having this channel is operating as a community. There are people from all walks of life and people that know a lot of history that I don't know. Here's the Bourne Bridge. But so if you know something different, or if you know the story, please comment about it. But the story I heard was that the Cape Cod Canal was dug and did so well that the C&D Canal, the Chesapeake Delaware Canal, was modeled after this canal. In other words, that they were so happy with this that they went and did it there. So maybe you can tell me about that. Another thing that I like about this canal, at night they have sodium lights on one side and I guess mercury lights on the other, something like that. So one side is a little kind of amberish while the other side is more white. And that sounds silly, but you can see all these turns. Well, that's because it's daylight. At night you can't see that, but you can see the difference where instead of just seeing all lights all together, the difference in the lights really help out a lot. So if you're coming through here at night, you can see that. Up ahead is the Sagamore Bridge. And up on just to the right side of the mast there in the bow, you can see the Sandwich Powerhouse coming up. Usually you see tons of people on the bike paths on either side, but with social distancing I didn't see hardly anybody out there. And on the right hand side you're going to see the Sandwich Marina, the little town of Sandwich. Beautiful town. When I had a recreational boat, we used to go there. The people at the Sandwich Marina were great. The fuel prices were great. My kids, on our way to Cape Cod, we'd stop there for the night and my kids would play in the little playground there. They're really cool people there. But anyway, now we release when I say we release, we're not connected, but we release them from duty of our tailboat. Check out with 21 Canal Control, and we come out here and get ready to get on the wire. Oh, sorry about the camera movement. Okay, so this is us obviously looking, we're still in push gear, and you can see the Sandwich Powerhouse there off in the distance because it's 180 degrees out from the other shot. And what you're seeing now is you're starting to see my wake slowing down as I'm taking way off the barge. We want it to get slower and slower and slower, eventually come to a stop. Then once we get it all stopped, we'll twist one way, get one leg in the push gear, then twist the other way and get the other leg in. Let the safeties go, get the headline in, and now I'm running off to go up to make up what we call heads and tails. Here we are. Now we're back looking towards Boston. We pass our line up to them. They shackle in, and this is just a soft line. So we put the soft line on our capstan. We haul the wire aboard and we shackle it into our wire. We let our soft line go and we let our handy line go, and then I back out around in front of the barge. Now, one thing that you might notice is that I go way over to the other side, and I do that on purpose because the wire is led off of my port side, and I don't want to use that engine while the wire is kind of down by the wheel. So the side of where the wire is, we have an open wheel boat. We don't have quart nozzles on this boat. So I come out a little further so that I can just use the outboard engine just to minimize the chance of ever getting into trouble. Now what we do is we're dumping wire out, get the barge out in front of us, bring up a strain to keep the wire off the bottom, and keep adding more wire, and that's about it. And we're on our way to Boston, or should we say Quincy, Mass. I want to thank you guys so much for watching, and be safe out there. Wash your hands.